How do you know that you have free will? Or do you even think that you have free will? Or is everything in life predetermined? Is it possible that you feel as though you have free will when everything in life really is predetermined? And is it possible for your actions to be predetermined while still maintaining some sense of free will? And what does any of this have to do with video games? The title of this video has the word video games in it. We'll get there, but first we have to talk about determinism. Actually, first we have to have a little disclaimer. I am by no means an expert in philosophy. It's not something I'm majoring in. It's not even something I'm minoring in. It's just something that I think is interesting and I've taken a few courses on and I wanted to talk about. So I'm by no means an expert. If you are interested by anything I talk about in this video or any philosophical topics I don't cover in this video, I recommend you look it up on your own and do your own research. Philosophy is really cool. It's cool stuff. Also, this video is going to contain spoilers for some video games. There will be a list in the description of all the games I mention, but primarily there will for sure be spoilers about The Last of Us, Until Dawn, and Season 1 of Telltale's The Walking Dead. Consider yourself warned. Let's talk about determinism. Determinism is the philosophical belief that all events are determined completely by causes external to the will. There's this thing called the law of causation, which is a principle in philosophy that all changes in nature are the product of a cause. Everything that happens is determined by the past and the laws of nature. Think of it kind of like Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It's not like karma, it's more like dominoes. The next domino falls because the one before it did so. It can't change its fate. That's what determinism is like. Everything is predetermined and there's nothing you can do to change it. Determinism means that nothing you do is really your choice. Everything has been predetermined, you don't really have a say in the matter. But with free will, or the libertarian response, you do get a say in the matter. Libertarianism is the philosophy that nothing is predetermined. Your actions and choices are your own because you have free will. Put simply, you accept one of two options. If determinism is true, then none of our actions are free. Determinism is true, therefore none of our actions are free. Or, if determinism is true, then none of our actions are free. Our actions are free, therefore determinism is false. Now let's talk about the game The Last of Us. The Last of Us is a 2013 video game that follows Joel, a smuggler, escorting a young girl, Ellie, across a post-apocalyptic America. Along the way, they come across a number of enemies, both human and, I guess, technically mutant. They've been infected by a fungus, and they're referred to as the infected, or stalkers, or clickers. Anyways, my point is, that's the whole game. Now, there's character development and nuances within the plot. That's not the entire game, but that's the basics of it. You, the player, control Joel, and sometimes Ellie, for the entire game. And regardless of how you play, the game is the same. It doesn't matter if you take down a group of enemies with a crossbow or a gun, the game progresses in the same way. All the choices are predetermined. If a character dies when they're not supposed to, such as Ellie or Joel, the game resets that section of the game until you make it through without dying. The game is the same for everyone. Every time the game is played, Joel's daughter Sarah dies in the prequel, Tess sacrifices herself so that Joel and Ellie can continue on their journey, and the game ends with Joel breaking Ellie out of the hospital to save her life. The game is completely deterministic, and your choices don't matter. It doesn't matter what weapon you use to take down an enemy, the game progresses the same. And deterministic games are pretty common. In fact, most games are deterministic. Outlast, Portal 2, Kirby, Super Mario, Final Fantasy, any game with a strictly linear plot is deterministic. On the flip side, you have games where choices do matter, and the choices you make can lead to completely different gameplay experiences and endings. Take, for example, Until Dawn. Released in 2015, Until Dawn follows a group of teenagers staying at a remote lodge in the mountains a year after the disappearance of two of their friends, Beth and Hannah, in those same mountains. The game has 8 playable characters, and depending on the choices you make, they can either all live or all die. And if you're bad at video games like I am, it tends to be the latter. But you don't have to be good at something to enjoy it. Until Dawn has a page on the menu screen that shows you how your actions affect the gameplay. The whole thing is centered around the idea of the butterfly effect, and the game shows you both the setup and consequences for the choices you make. For example, there's this part about halfway through the game when you're playing as the character Chris. And Chris and his crush Ashley have both been strapped to these chairs with saw blades descending towards them from the ceiling. Chris is given a gun and he's told to either shoot himself or Ashley, and whoever he does not shoot will get to live. In reality, the guns are filled with blanks. They were never in any real danger, and this was just the result of an elaborate prank gone way too far. However, later in the game, when you're once again playing as Chris, you have to run through the forest, hit all the action cues to survive, and escape these monsters that are chasing you and trying to kill you. Ashley is the one guarding the door to the lodge, and if earlier in the game you pointed the gun filled with blanks at yourself, or if you didn't do anything with it, then she lets you in. But if you try to fire the gun at her, she doesn't let you in. This leaves you locked outside and you die. And it goes deeper than that. The choices you make for character dialogue affect character relations, which has an influence on the gameplay. Certain character facts or elements of the plot aren't even discoverable unless you do certain actions or find certain items in the game. It's a really good game and I recommend it, and because it has so many different choices and different endings, you can play it more than once, or you can watch a let's play of it and then play the game for yourself and still feel like you're getting something out of it. But games like this, where there are a ton of different choices that all affect the gameplay in different ways, are pretty common. Life is Strange, Beyond Two Souls, Heavy Rain, The Witcher 3. So you have games like Last of Us, where none of your choices affect the overarching plot of the game. And then you have games like Until Dawn, where pretty much every single choice you make affects the overarching plot. You have deterministic games and libertarian games. But what about something like the games made by Telltale? Now, I personally love Telltale games. I was really sad in 2018 when they declared bankruptcy, and I was really happy when they came back from the dead in 2019. And I'm very excited for Wolf Among Us 2. But even though I like Telltale and I like that the games are choice-driven, your choices don't really affect the overarching plot of the game. Let's look at Season 1 of The Walking Dead. You play as Lee Everett, a man trying to navigate this zombie-filled wasteland while protecting Clementine, an 8-year-old girl. The choices you make affects the character relationships and the gameplay, but it doesn't affect the game's story overall. Early on in the game, Lee and Clementine spend the night on a farm, and the next morning some walkers break through the fences surrounding the farm. You, as Lee, are presented with a choice. Do you try to save Sean, the adult son of Herschel, whose farm you are staying on, or do you save Duck, the young child of Katja and Kenny, a couple also staying on the farm? The third option technically is that you don't react fast enough to try and save either one. You just do nothing. But regardless of who you try to save, Sean dies, Duck lives, and Herschel makes everyone leave the farm. This choice affects the game in that if you tried to save Duck, Kenny likes you a lot more, which means that throughout the game he's more likely to side with you in arguments and also help you out. At a convenience store in the first chapter, you have to choose between saving the life of either Doug or Carly, and whoever you choose is with you for the next 2 chapters, but regardless is shot during chapter 3 by Lily. The choices you make affecting character relationship plays the biggest role in the game. How your relationship stands with each of the remaining characters at the end of the second to last chapter of the game determines who will come with you to help rescue a kidnapped Clementine. But regardless of who comes with you, you finish your journey alone and you find Clementine by yourself. Regardless of the choices you make throughout the game, the overarching story stays the same, and the ending is determinate. Regardless of the choices you make, Lee ends up getting bitten by a walker and ultimately dies. Similarly, if any of the characters die when they're not supposed to, such as Clementine or Lee, the game starts over that section until you make it through without anyone dying. You have a choice in the journey, just not in the destination. And this type of game aligns with soft determinism, or compatibilism. Compatibilism is the belief that free will and determinism are compatible. You have a say in the journey, just not the destination. It's a way to reconcile the idea that everything is predetermined and that humans still have a say in their actions. The action is determined, but the situation or choices in doing the action aren't necessarily determined. It's like when you're a kid in school and the teacher asks a question. You might raise your hand to answer the question, or the teacher might just call on you. Either way, you're answering the question that was asked, it's just that the conditions leading up to you doing so are different. In a way, isn't it ironic that in all of these games that I categorized as free will games, the characters don't have free will? You're the one pulling the strings, you're the one making all the choices for them. The characters in the games might have the illusion of free will, but they don't actually have free will. You are determining their fate, and they don't even know it. Well, except for maybe in games where they break the fourth wall, like Doki Doki Literature Club, Batman Arkham Asylum, Spec Ops The Line, Eternal Darkness, Metal Gear Solid, Undertale, Oneshot, Earthbound. We did it, we connected the dots, we explained determinism with video games. Did I make this video as an excuse to talk about video games I like? Yes. Did I make this video instead of writing an essay that I have due in my philosophy class on a topic that is not determinism? Also yes, but you know what? That's neither here nor there.